Hello, friends. Welcome to Culture Doom, episode 424. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Brendan.
Hi, folks. I'm your other host. My name's Alex.
I have to come clean to everyone, to the audience, that I made a major mistake yesterday while we were recording. It's probably the second worst thing I could have done, which is I forgot to record the video. I went and did a silly thing.
He went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did.
Audio recorded just fine, but picture, ever since we've switched to YouTube, forgot to hit record on OBS, and so at the end, 3 hours later of recording, I went to hit stop, and I was like,
"Oh, I already stopped."
Oh, what does that mean? And then the realization slowly. And the funny thing is if you know anything about like streaming and podcasts and stuff, you know, a lot of people now in OBS or whatever, you do like kind of like live television editing, which you're switching between different cameras and stuff like that and going back and forth. So the entire 3 hours I was editing the show, going like to show Alex stuff on the screen and to go back and forth and be like, check this out, look at that. Yeah. And none of it mattered. So it was extra pathetic. So but all this to say is that this is going to be kind of a classic episode because it'll just be audio for the majority of it. We're going to run the rest of the episode now, and then we're going to come back to talk about what I already showed the screen, but and it'll be on the thumbnail anyway, but we're going to talk about Tales from Earthsea. So please enjoy the episode, and we'll see you in a little bit. I'm checked out. I've got other things to do. I got so much porn I got to get through. I don't have time to jerk off to your shows.
The backlog is worse than my Steam backlog.
Well, ever since the major Pornhub shut down, I just stockpile. I just download all
because you never know when it's going to happen. I mean, that was as bad to me personally. That was as bad as the day that Wikipedia had its complete like coming to Jesus moment about what do we do with the EU and Disney taking over Star Wars.
Alex sounded more upset when Pornhub deleted all of their content than he was on September 11th. He was like, "This is a major tragedy. This is a nationwide disaster.
Worse than 9/11.
And I'm
worse
like, Alex,
than January 6th.
Like, Alex, we'll get over this together. We just need to. I'll pick you up while you're down, buddy."
We'll Dutch rudder each other. We already got some presents for the boys, and each of them is getting a Amazon Kindle 8 Pro.
Well, don't spoil it on the show. They're going to listen and hear. They're going to find out that
He wants to get on here. He wants to play Battlefront or watch YouTube.
Yeah, he wants to watch this podcast. He's like, I want to see what Daddy and Uncle Brendan are up to. Too hot for Nicholas.
Steel drums intensify.
Just picture.
I played that music for Erica over this past weekend, and she's just like, "What is that?"
Did she? She didn't recognize it.
No, and I'm like, "This is the most like." Then I was like, "Well, she's a girl.
She's a girl, and she's too young." And did she ever stay up late? Was she a night owl?
She did. She didn't watch the stuff either. Although she enjoys MXC, and MXC was on.
That's what I mean. Late. Was she up watching Cartoon Network or adults? Yeah. Okay. No, Comedy Central at 2:00 in the morning.
She might have watched a little bit of South Park. That was about it. When her dipping the toes. She didn't watch like classic man show.
But speaking of your family, Alex.
Yeah.
You've recently installed spy cameras to watch your family without their knowledge.
Yes, I tell them that they need a license to do anything.
You start screaming at Nicholas. Oi! You got a license for that lolly? Why was there a...
No, it's Zachary's Thomas the Tank Engine toilet. You know, sometimes when the train goes by because of the pressure sensor.
No, I understand.
You just randomly hear like Thomas in the background going.
That's Zachary's toilet?
Well, it was Nicholas's before, and now it's Zachary's.
Oh, it's just
because we're doing the whole potty training thing.
So he's not actually using it at the moment. It just
no.
Oh, okay, I was like, Zachary's up and
then unless I hear him come here, he opens up the fridge, and I hear like a can of beer get popped open, which Zachary would. I mean, he would.
Anyway, speaking of your family, you're spying on them with cameras.
We got security cameras now because we've had some stuff going on here in town and stuff. Meth heads and stuff.
Immediately what I thought of.
So Erica decided to get a pair of cameras, security cameras, basically from Amazon, which are wireless, and we have an app on our phone so that whenever we get a little notification, it'll say like, oh, hey, there's motion at the front door. Oh, hey, there's some motion by the garage and the side door. So it's been kind of fun seeing that because sometimes I will get a notification to say, hey, something's picked up on the camera. I'm like, ooh, what is it? And then it's just like the wind chimes movie. It's exceptionally, what's the word? Hair trigger in terms of picking up motion.
Sensitive.
Yes, very sensitive. Today I got a notification and it picked up a bug going across the lens, which is kind of freaky because it's like, oh my gosh, it's one of those 1950s drive-in movie horrors.
It's a giant mosquito.
Yeah, a giant mosquito, but then a lot of times it's useful because it happens to be, Amazon delivery, or maybe it's, somebody's coming to drop by something at the house, but Erica's at home and things like that. So it's been an interesting thing, but then it'll just pick up whenever, anybody's leaving the house or pulling at the garage and stuff, and you just blows up and you got like 30 messages on there going like, oh, there's more movement and stuff.
Well, now you've got to be worried about the creepy visitors.
Yeah, the creepy visitors, or the Jehovah's, not the Jehovah's. We've had a bunch of the little Mormon kids have been coming around the area. And
wait, Mormon kids?
Yeah, because they're doing their ministry stuff. They've been on campus also.
I don't see many Mormons in Chicago.
Well, there's probably reasons why. But yeah, they've kind of been in the area and stuff. They have their little bicycles and they look adorable. They look like guys that work at NASA during like the 1960s because they have like the white shirt, the black tie, the dark slacks. Be like, hey, how are things going with that Apollo mission going on and stuff like that?
The pocket protector.
Yeah, they have name tags too. Have you ever seen them?
Do they really?
They have little, they have like a little messenger bag, and then they also have a name tag, I believe.
Yeah, this is the famous Reddit post of the creepy visitor that picked up. They got a notification on their phones for their Ring camera, and that's bad times.
Yeah.
Then you'll be standing guard at the door with a shotgun every night.
Oh,
that'll be next.
Yeah, I basically got like anti-personnel shells for it too. So it's like,
I love it that I can hear the train zoom horn from that the bathroom. It's like every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's just kind of annoying and stuff like that, but it's also kind of funny because you're just like,
it's fine.
Who's using it right now? So yeah, secure. I never thought really I'd be one of those people that has those kind of security cameras because I know her sister has one. But yeah, it's kind of just an added security bonus, which living, where we live and stuff, I wouldn't necessarily have thought that we would need that. Because I'm kind of the type of person that doesn't lock his car if he goes into Casey's or Dollar General when I'm there and stuff like that. But now I'm just like...
So now everyone knows that if you see Alex drive by, just follow him to the nearest Dollar General and you can steal all 50
2012 cents. Honda Focus.
You can steal all 20 cents that he's got
in teal.
Do you guys does that car still have an ashtray in it? Like an actual ashtray, not like that, because you can tell that they've substituted ashtrays with little pot, like a
coin,
drawer.
like a little coin thing.
Yeah, it's like a drawer.
No, I don't think the cigarette thing. We do have one of those like 12-volt sockets though, but that's in the center console in the rear seat. It's kind of weird. It's a weird thing. But yeah, I'm guessing pretty much at this point all the ashtrays and even like the little lighter things don't exist anymore. Which I think they should still. Gone. The lighters I feel like would be more important because it's kind of, in a sense, it would be more like like a safety first aid type of thing.
I
Like
agree.
in case, something happened, you can still plug it in. It'll charge off the car battery and stuff, unless the battery's completely shot. It's still have stuff, but...
Think about how pervasive smoking had to have been where your car came with a built-in ashtray.
Yeah. Also, it's like, just think about, like, it was like you're in the car by yourself. Nobody is in there, and they're saying you're still not allowed to, like, smoke inside your car.
Well, now now you've got to buy these add-on ashtrays.
Something from Sharper Image.
This one's got like a cool blue light.
God.
It's just so that when you're smoking at night, you can see what you're doing.
So you don't burn down your car.
Don't burn down your car. It's just so surreal to think of an era where this was normal, and where like McDonald's had a smoking section.
Mm-hmm.
And those little gold tin ashtrays.
Yeah, or little those glass ones that had the little like fingers that you could kind of like sit it. Like a classy, yeah.
Okay, so
the tin one, and then there was
okay. I'm combining these.
This was back when we had a true American empire.
Is that what they had in Japan at McDonald's?
I don't remember seeing any of those. I do remember that there was one floor. I think it was like the ground level you would order.
Right.
The second floor was non-smoking, and then the third floor, I believe, was smoking.
Okay.
And there was one time I went there, and it was the smoking section, but then only like a few people there were smoking. That's it. But Japan themselves have really curtailed back on smoking also. No fun allowed.
No fun allowed. It's funny watching the old, and we have something to talk about Ghibli later in this episode, but it's funny watching, and this was 2013, there's that NHK Ghibli specials where they follow Hayao Miyazaki around, and he's chain smoking everywhere. He's like chain smoking at his desk. He's chain smoking in the meeting room. Everyone's smoking in the meeting room, frankly.
Yeah, because it's the meeting room. Yeah.
And then like they're at different companies, and he's standing in the lobby of the movie theater smoking, and it's just like Japan just made it to 2013 without being kind of so pearl clutching about the stuff.
Yeah, Western.
I guess China still does it too, probably.
China still does it pretty heavily, from what I've heard. Hong Kong kind of did too, but nobody knows what's going on in Hong Kong over the past several years.
Right. It's like
I don't even know if it exists anymore. It's probably just a black hole. It's like Brigadoon. Hong Kong turned into Brigadoon, and we'll see it in the next 3 years.
Smoking in Japan. I'll have to look at this later. But anyhow, well, I'm glad that you guys have you've secured your compound with cameras.
Razor wires next, along with machine gun nests. So.
Now, are these cameras only pointed outside? Or
yes.
Okay, so there's no inside cameras.
They're just static cameras.
Well, no, but I mean, like, there's none. Like, you don't have like a living room camera.
No.
Or a bedroom camera.
No. Well, the boys have just like their cameras from when they were still little.
That's just a monitor, though. It's
not just a monitor.
It's not recording anywhere.
No. But these record, and they're also, because you can save the recordings via a USB from the Wi-Fi like hub that we have in the kitchen that kind of connects them all to everything. But we also just got like this subscription plan to just kind of do that. But yeah, it's just an added sense of security purposes.
Because I've seen people who put
so are guns. Guns are even better.
I've seen people who put cameras pointing in the living room, or
that's when you think that you're like your au pair is stealing from you.
But like, for example, remember on Linus Tech Tips when they got hacked, and there's that really awkward video of him running around naked,
and he's
So, but that's like,
I don't know what's up with that.
I've seen that before, though. It's not just Linus.
Yeah, but it's
weird.
That's just weird.
It is weird.
That's just something else is up at that point. Maybe if like you think
something else is going up there,
in case some lunatic finds out where I happen to live and wants to come and break in and steal stuff or whatever that would make sense. But at the same time, it's like, it's going to record everything, Linus. Everything.
So funny thing, I just saw this on Wikipedia. Unlike many other countries, Japan traditionally had outdoor smoking regulations with more lenient indoor smoking regulations. Outdoor smoking is frowned upon on public streets, and local governments typically have bylaws banning smoking on public streets.
I can see that. I can kind of see that more so than indoor, because it's like, if you're going someplace
right
inside, you should know that, like, what you're walking into, as opposed to just like random stuff on the street that you kind of have to go through, because wherever you need to actually go, you have to go down the street or this pathway or something like that. I can kind of get that. It's kind of like how we used to have the smoke section in a restaurant or a bar. Bars always smelled like smoke because people smoked there. They'd go there for a beer and a cigarette afterwards. And then Rob Reiner would yell at you. So, now you're not allowed to smoke inside of your car. You could smoke in your car, but it's like...
Anyhow, I just thought it was interesting that's... it seems like the major laws started showing up in 2018, but realistically, I'm sure Ghibli, based on what I'm reading on here, Ghibli is still able to let people smoke in their studio. And,
mostly because Miyazaki wants to.
Miyazaki-sama says so. It only bans smoking in schools, hospitals, and municipal offices. Restaurants need to have a banning in where there's drinking and eating. You can't drink or eat where there's smoking unless you're in a pub like an izakaya. Then you can smoke and do whatever. It's specifically exempted by the law.
Once they kind of, unfortunately, the one day when they finally ban it all through izakaya, like izakaya culture is gonna change.
Yeah.
Pretty.
See, now we have to go to Japan before we can't smoke.
Yeah.
But sorry, give me 1 second.
I'm gonna, you know what? Thomas is starting to piss me off, so I'm gonna go try to fix that.
You were into to Thomas until he started to irritate you.
Dude needs to shut up. It's like late at night. Yeah.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel.
So I promised Nicholas a while back and be like, "Oh, Daddy's got this really cool video game system up in the attic." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Can you get the PlayStation down for me?" Yeah, I told him, I was like, "Oh, I have this thing called a PlayStation upstairs, and it's kind of like video games. It's got really cool stuff." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, no, PlayStation sounds like a very appealing name, especially to a 5-year-old.
Yes. And then it happens to be a PS2, which is the best PlayStation. PS2 is best PS station. I mean, I know the original one is, but come on, it's as time has progressed.
You're not wrong.
A lot of people don't even remember the PS4. If there was a PS4, there must have been. The PS3 is just fat and very glossy, and was kind of.
Oh, the PS3 sucked.
Yeah.
PS3 had the Spider-Man logo on it.
Yeah, that was the only thing I ever remembered about the PS3. I was like, I can't tell you anything otherwise.
PS3 sucked.
It also went against a 360, and that was already game over.
The 360 decisively won that, at least in the West, decisively won that era.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think Microsoft has ever done as well since
they
then.
haven't tried to. They haven't put any effort into it. They don't care because they were like,
None of this.
Yeah. They're just like
Just
PC gaming.
Just say Xbox again. It don't matter. They're like, sir, what should we name this new console? Just say Xbox again. It don't matter. None of this matters.
Just say Smith again. It don't matter. None of this matters.
Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox
One
X.
Xbox.
Was it One X?
Yeah, I think
Xbox
so.
S.
And now it's the something or other. I don't know.
Terrible.
I remember the Xbox One kind of looked like a fatter PlayStation 2, but in white. And now the new one is just this giant rectangular box. It's weird. But anyways, the PS2, still the best. I got that down, and I was like, fingers crossed that the thing fires up. And lo and behold, it turned on. It had that great intro sound that comes on, and it's got those waves crashing type of background noise. And then the disc tray, it's a little rough. It's kind of a little grindy, but it opens and closes. It takes its time now because it's a senior citizen, and the laser is taking. Yeah, there we go. God, that's great. Oof.
And then is there another one after that? That's it. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see PlayStation 2 being your favorite.
So we had a lot of great games. We got Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Dexter, God of War. We got his favorite one right now playing on there is Dragon Ball Z Budokai, the original of the Dragon Ball fighting games.
Dragon Ball Bukkake.
Yes.
As we used to joke about during the era. I remember us talking about it because we've been doing podcasts
since then. Which I think I called it that once or twice this past weekend. He's like, Daddy, can I play this? I'm like, Dragon Ball Z Bukkake. He's like, yeah, can I play this? I'm like,
he's gonna go to school now being like, teacher, I did a Bukkake this weekend. And you're gonna end up on like the FBI at your doorstep.
Well, I'd also then ask the FBI, how does a Catholic school know what Bukkake is about? Like the Pornhub kid.
You've got to be aware of things as a mentor. You have to know what the kids are up to. Bukkake.
Sorry. So that's that, and then we also have our DSs in the games with that because he liked to play the Mario game on that and stuff. It was just great being able to play that, and then just firing up Soul Calibur 2 and beating the snot out of my 5-year-old with it. So.
And you also had him playing God of War.
Violent. I didn't get him to play God of War. He did play the Godzilla game.
Okay. Well, I'm saying it's a pretty violent game for a 5-year-old.
There's also the Grand Theft Autos on there, and Hitman. I got Hitman on there too. So
I was playing violent games by the time I was. Oh well, okay. Mortal Kombat.
That's pretty violent.
So 10.
Did you play the original Doom?
Yeah, but I think Mortal Kombat predates that. In the arcade? Mortal Kombat in the arcade was released in 1992.
Okay.
So I was Doom 9 years old. 1993. So yeah. So I must have been... I probably didn't play Doom then until... Yeah, until I was like 13 or 14. It had to be 7th or 8th grade. Because I didn't have a PC until I was in 8th grade. I didn't have a 46 until I was in...
Yeah, I don't think my family had a PC. What do we have? I think we got it maybe... We had it in high school. I think we got it maybe 7th or 8th grade. My dad got it as a prize from work, and it was a Packard Bell. And it came with Doom pre-installed on it, which was kind of weird. The
clones. Remember when they were called clones? Mm-hmm. Cloning in IBM?
Yeah. But it was great. Windows 95, it was just...
You know what? I don't think I played Doom till I was a freshman in high school, now that I think about it. Because my first PC, this 486 that I had, No, it must have been. Never mind. Sorry, it must have been 8th grade because I got my Acer Aspire as a freshman because I had to write papers. And my mom and my grandmother were like, I think we need to buy one of these newfangled computers because I had been using
those sheets in there, and it reads the sheets.
I had been using an Apple IIe that was being thrown out at my grade school, was being thrown away, and I like pulled it out of the garbage. And I'm like, Mom, I'm using a computer. So I was using like Print Shop and Wheel of Fortune. These are like the games I had.
Because those were the ones, the 2E had the actual, like, I guess you would call it like, it wasn't a tower, but it was like the VCR with the built-in keyboards. I don't even know what you would call it.
It was the built-in keyboard.
2-in-1.
Yeah, it was a keyboard computer.
Yeah.
Then the monitor was grayscale. It was that green, like not Predator, but like RoboCop view.
Yeah, RoboCop's more accurate.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's funny that you guys just did this because I accidentally dug out my Nintendo, my original NES, because I was looking for something else. I was seeing what boxes were in my closet because I'm probably moving in a couple of months. I was kind of taking inventory of what is in here. Retro gaming is kind of like the only version of gaming I enjoy these days.
Yep.
Does Fallout 3 count as retro at this point?
It's kind of getting there at this point, I would say.
It's certainly on the cusp.
It's old enough. I feel like a lot of retro stuff now is sort of like pre-2008 to 2010. Like, I feel like 2008 for some reason is this cutoff point with like maybe the 360 kind of being like that. That's being kind of like the cutoff point.
What's your cutoff point for retro?
Like anything prior to 2008.
Yeah, 2008 is Fallout 3.
Okay. Oh, hey.
That's how it's almost.
It's a little scary how I knew when Doom 1 came out, and then like
it's almost 20 years old.
Yeah,
almost. It's getting close to being.
And if AVGN wants to do something, start.
I want to kill myself now.
Well, I feel it's great because I've heard some people saying about how GameStop is trying to revive itself by stocking a lot of retro games and stuff, where they're like, people are bringing in DS, Wii, PS2, original Xbox games.
I could totally see that, because
the new games, nobody really likes them because they're overpriced and they're terrible. No, just talking about the current state.
Oh, no. You're not wrong.
Or the other flip side is that if you want to get them, they're all digital now. So this is kind of the thing. Plus, eventually somebody's going to be able, people can crack the older games easier and just put them online and you can emulate them.
I still think that this doesn't have so much to do with video games, but with movies, I swear we are heading towards a streaming collapse. Just like the video game collapse of the, 80s?
Yeah, early 80s.
Because we are rapidly hitting a saturation point where these streaming services aren't profitable for the companies. And more people, I think, are saying, this is stupid. Why am I paying for this? Why do I have the entire purpose of streaming and what the advantage it had over cable services has disappeared. Mm-hmm. And so like the entire idea of streaming is now foolish and misguided. And I think slowly people will start to see that. And you'll end up with just Netflix and Amazon again, because no one else can sustain it the way that Netflix and Amazon can.
Yeah.
HBO will go away. Paramount will go away. Disney might hang in there just out of pride.
Yeah.
But Disney Plus is in trouble from their shareholders already.
Yeah, Disney Plus is having issues because they're kind of trying to get in this thing where a lot of the stuff that a lot of their back catalog still for some reason is not on there. A lot of the new stuff that they are putting on there are programs that they broadcast in other parts of the world, like on the Disney Channel and certain parts of the world. Like I think we were talking about what was that? Summertime Rendering where the distribution was done by Disney, but it was only in like Australia or something like that.
Right.
And this is another good thing where there's been more, evidence come to light about Disney even before COVID cooking their books and people whistleblowing about that. They've also got an insane amount of debt that they have to leverage somehow. They're bleeding money from both ESPN and also a little bit from Hulu and stuff, and they're trying to figure out, should we just combine all of these together into one solid thing? Because you can still do it as a package, but they're still separate, or just offload it. And I feel like they would be smarter to just simply sell ABC and ESPN to try to recuperate some of that stuff, and just kind of put whatever's on ESPN Plus or Disney Plus, because Disney Plus, they're putting on stuff from like Discovery Networks and no, they don't have Discovery Network, but National Geographic channels, which is like, nobody really cares about this stuff. Like they have, The Simpsons. It's so weird to even watch The Simpsons on there. But speaking of which, that they're doing this because they have a lot of debt. You now hear the story that came out just today, which I think was done by Bloomberg, in which Disney is supposedly coming across the idea of wanting to actually buy out Electronic Arts and put their foot into the gaming industry, because they have, EA, I believe, has the exclusive Star Wars contract. I'm not really certain about Marvel games, though. I think a lot of that is still kind of dependent upon what properties Sony still owns in terms of what they used to have. But yeah, this is the biggest thing, which for a number of years now, even because of all the licensing, people had been thinking that there was an opportunity that Disney would purchase Hasbro, because Hasbro has like Marvel, they've got Star Wars, they've got a whole bunch of other Disney properties that they make products for. And if they want to buy that, then there's this chance that, we would get Hasbro, but then they would also end up, as crazy as it is, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast makes Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, which then means Disney would try to somehow incorporate Magic and D&D into the greater Disney sphere, and that's a whole headache. And this is another thing that would be like a similar scenario, like you would Disneyfy EA, which already EA, I mean, pretty much all the major publishers in the video game industry have a bad reputation. But now that you're bringing in the Disney factor into, obviously, EA, which people have just crapped on for decades now, and their current CEO looks like a Bond villain. I always point that out to people. I don't know why they're trying to consistently try to diversify their portfolio when you have no money for the said portfolio folder itself to hold all this stuff.
Money.
And I know that there are ways that leveraging debt against whatever assets you might have is a good way, but there's a point when you're like, you can't, all of the stuff is spilling out of the bucket, and I don't really know why they would be wanting to do EA. It's kind of okay. It's weird to me because EA is such a poison fruit already.
Why would you want Disney? Disney is in hot water on their own accord. They don't really need another company that is the ire of an industry.
Right.
They're already dealing with Lucasfilm.
Yeah, Lucasfilm,
being part of their company.
Marvel's film unit. Oh, their comics unit is dead. But their films are just
okay. So the next Marvel movie coming out is the Marvels.
The Marvels.
In November. The Marvels in November, I believe.
Yeah. Which they're just gonna probably dump. I mean, they already have the Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus, and there has been remarkably little fanfare for this movie that's coming out. That is supposedly one of the most popular character in all.
Most popular character.
I think it's really just superhero fatigue, because we've always said that after the Infinity Saga, it's like
It's a month away.
There's nothing else really to do. Like, they've been just floundering with these terrible movies. I guess Guardians, apart from like the Avengers, was the most popular group. But then, you know, did anybody really go and see Guardians, or like to the extent that they used to? It was just...
Guardians was successful. The not the Immortals, the
Eternals.
The Eternals was a disaster. And then there was another one.
Quantumania was bad.
Quantumania wasn't great.
Doctor Strange.
No. Yeah, Doctor Strange. So those
Black
were
Panther
Guardians
2,
of the Galaxy.
yeah.
So
Love and Thunder.
But anyway, speaking of Disney, Alex.
Continuing on with Disney, this is a very Disney-centric episode.
Well, speaking of getting fucked in the ass by Disney,
Ooh.
Disney, or a couple sues Disney World over claims that water slide caused severe wedgie.
Was there blood? Was there
Yes.
Was there some tearing?
Okay, so here's the thing about this headline.
Yes.
It's very easy to read this and be like, they're suing Disney over a wedgie.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the article, this is actually horrifying. Okay.
Oh, I was on Humunga Cowabunga. It's not, you know.
You're lucky you've got everything still intact.
Everything's working. I mean, this was before I had kids too, so everything was...
A couple is now suing Disney World after they say a water slide caused a painful wedgie and severe injury.
Was there a streak of blood?
The lawsuit filed in Orange County on Wednesday is focused on Typhoon Lagoon and the 214-foot water slide there called Humunga Cowabunga. Alex is all like, I want to go back. According to Disney, people plummet down near a near vertical 5-story drop. Riders go without a raft or tube. The complaint said riders can reach speeds approaching 40 miles per hour, and before they go down the slide, they're told to cross their legs at the ankles.
Yes.
The lawsuit said in this woman's case, when she went down the slide, near the end, her body lifted up, she became airborne, and she was slammed downward against the slide, which increased the likelihood of her legs becoming uncrossed. The document said that, and her impact...
Somebody needs to go in medical.
Yeah, okay. It's not just me after 3 beers. Her impact into the standing water at the bottom caused a painful wedgie and immediate bleeding.
Mm.
So painful wedgie is actually in a quote. Okay, so I feel better about that. The lawsuit said an ambulance took the wife to a hospital, and she was eventually taken to another hospital for a specialist. It continued on to say she suffered severe and permanent bodily injury to her private area and damage to her internal organs. Now she and her husband are suing Disney for more than $50,000.
Okay. That's it?
Well, that's my point. They're not suing for $2 million, $3 million,
$5 million. Like the usual, you would think somebody would be. It's like, oh, we can go after Disney. We're going, 7
and that's
figures.
why I don't. That's why I don't think this is bullshit.
That's very small. That's like a Judge Judy type of thing.
We're in small claims court.
Yes, sir.
It's Judge Judy. But so on the one hand, I think that it's offensive that this article says caused severe wedgie, because as a headline that seems like very dismissive. But if that's what they actually put in the lawsuit, then that's their fault. Mm-hmm. It's not. I wanted to just say, oh, look at these fucking clickbait headlines. Mm-hmm. They just want you to get like outraged about this. I think that if it's really only $50,000-$60,000 and she does have the injuries that she sustained, I think this is pretty reasonable. And it sounds like that drop is straight enough where if just not crossing your legs leads to major groin damage, then there's something that needs to be changed.
With water slides, it's always told, no matter what water slide you really go on, you're always told to cross your legs.
Right.
Just because, with you having a much smaller, form against
it's like a
resistance.
knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what I feel like she kind of started going down the slide and maybe picked up also taking into account what her size and volume is that she takes up on the slide. There might have been a thing where
always victim shaming with Alex.
Well, she's a woman. She might have undone her legs, and that's what caused the issue with creating,
well, that's what it
issues
says.
And stuff.
That
and also, I feel like 50,000. It's like you're really just asking for them to maybe cover your medical costs times 2, and that's it.
Well, I don't know.
Or
how
maybe
much
they don't feel like they have much of a case. So, based upon what the lawyer suggested,
maybe I'm being naive, but I feel like they're saying we just want our medical fees covered,
right?
And we're not looking to sue. Like, we're not trying to make 25 million out of like emotional damage. We just want to not have to pay. We want it maybe like 15 grand on top. It's a little bit extra, but I think it's
the most honest lawsuit ever.
If she fucked up her bits, then I think she's entitled to something because it's not her fault. Because you shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that if you don't cross your legs, you're going to be bleeding out of your crotch.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people on that slide have gone. Interesting thing though is that of the 2 water parks, Typhoon Lagoon is the less known for the water slides compared to Blizzard Beach, where Blizzard Beach's main focus is on the water slides, which are
it's called Blizzard Beach?
Blizzard Beach. So the idea behind Typhoon Lagoon is that there was a big, huge typhoon that came by in this area, and it lifted up this boat, and it's on top of this water spout volcano thing, and that's the thing. Blizzard Beach is where there was this unseasonal blizzard that came through this Caribbean island and then dumped a whole bunch of snow on it, and that's kind of what the theming behind Blizzard Beach is. But Blizzard Beach is known, their big thing is the water slides, and also they actually have a really, really nice kids splash area and stuff.
Temporarily closed.
I think they're doing a lot of overhauling with that. As you can tell that on down there, that photo with the guy going down, it's very steep. I think they even have one of those slides where you stand inside like a tube, and then the bottom gives off, and I think it's like practically like a between 30 to 35 degree drop or something like that.
I've gone on something similar in Wisconsin.
At Noah's Ark?
No, it was
Mount Olympus.
No, it was not a. Stop guessing. I had it was fine for me, and then there was another one that I went on that was also fine for me, but the girl I was with was too small to make it past, and she got like her back fucked up on it. She even said to me as we were standing in line, she was like, I don't want to get stuck. And I was like, you'll be fine. These are
trained professionals.
People go through this all the time. You're going to be fine.
And I'm just telling you this because I want to go down the slide myself.
Well, I genuinely did not think she was going to get injured on this ride. But it's funny because there's like lots of like horror stories on, and she like seriously, she got stuck, and then they had to like come open the escape hatch and go like get her at like one of the
broom handle. Just she's clogged on in there.
They just brought out a giant
plunger
at the top. No, but I felt terrible because her back was all scraped up. Like she didn't have enough momentum, and then it slowed down.
Yeah,
and she got.
There's also, you take into account that the flow, the amount of water that's flowing to kind of help move it. There's
facilitate.
As crazy as it is, there's so much actual like physics that gets taken into account for a lot of water slides, the way they're designed and how they can work, and also you then factor in the person in terms of their height, their weight, their overall, mass in terms of build and stuff like that. So
you try not to be overly protective or anything, but like after that kid got beheaded on one of these, I would be very reluctant to let any I'm not telling you how to raise your kids.
Yeah.
But like under the age of like 16 that had enough weight to them, I'd be hesitant to let my kid go on any of these, like anything like this extreme. Like there were water slides growing up where it was just like a little like whoop, and then like a little drop off or something.
It was
or
like in a public pool where they just literally put like just a slide from like the play set. And
I know what you're
like that.
Okay, not that bad.
Yeah.
But I know that's like the Wisconsin Dells hotels.
Yes.
They would have in the front.
Black Hawk Inn, baby.
I always loved at these like Wisconsin Dells and places like that, they'd have a loop that would be like the internal, like the Black Hawk Motel channel, and it would just be local attractions at Wisconsin Dells, and it'd be
restaurants
like,
and stuff.
Come on down to White Knight Taffy, where we make the best local taffy, and stop on down next door to the Black Knight, where we make the best fudge in Wisconsin Dells.
Looking for thrills and entertainment? Bring the family down to the Tommy Bartlett Water Show.
I would love to get a tape, like a VHS of one of those.
Yeah.
Like it's such a distinct feel and memory of that stuff.
Hi, I'm Bert Urbaner, and I'm owner of the local Wisconsin Dells Ducks. These are authentic World War II amphibious landing vehicles that go both on land and water. Take scenic trips with your family. Kids under 6 ride free.
Ride free. See you there.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing on YouTube. I mean, a lot of people do the retro commercials. This would be like local Chamber of Commerce type of promotional things, like the Shoji Tabuchi show. If you're in Branson,
Branson,
that would be the equivalent.
There's only one way to describe Branson, Missouri. It's good, clean fun. Something the whole family can enjoy together. And the only way to really understand what's happening in the small Ozark town is to see it for yourself.
Hey, Alex.
Yes, Brendan.
So this week we watched a couple of interesting Ghibli films.
Yeah, and I think I texted you. I was saying like, this is the first time I've actually seen 2 Ghibli films, like kind of back to back, like one night after another.
That's how I watched it too.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have not done that before. I think that I watched, I don't know. I went to the Ghibli Film Festival at the Music Box, and so I saw like Porco Rosso, Castle in the Sky, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Totoro.
Yeah.
I would.
But when you go into that, that's what you already set up for.
I mean, it was like two a day, like that kind of thing. It would be amazing to take Zachary and Nicholas to see Totoro on 35 millimeter. Other kids come dressed up as Totoro and stuff. It's adorable. It was. I think I told you when I walked in the first time, I was because it was like Saturday morning at 11 a.m. to go see Totoro, and I was just like,
oh, perfect.
I was thinking, well, I might not ever see this again like this, so I'm gonna go. I've got to go see it, even though it's at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. And I was sitting there looking at all these children, thinking this is going to be miserable. And then it was the most heart-melting cinematic experience when you hear these little voices singing the Totoro song. Well, it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it turned into one of my favorite cinema experiences, ultimately.
I mean, I'm glad. I mean, on the other end of the spectrum, you got Rocky Horror and The Room. And I'd much rather take a theater full of small children singing Japanese.
It was, to be fair, it was the English dub.
It was the English dub.
It was the first.
Still,
way
it
better.
Was,
they're like,
yeah,
it was great. But anyway, this is a little bit different. We'll talk about this. We're talking about Tales from Earthsea this week, and then next week we'll talk about the other film because this is a Miyazaki film.
It is Miyazaki, but it's also not a Miyazaki film.
It is not from Hayao Miyazaki.
No, it's not. It's from his son Goro, which if anybody has ever seen the Miyazaki documentary, you'll get an idea as to the type of relationship that Goro and his father have with each other.
But Goro doesn't give in.
つまりやってる自分が楽しくない。苦しみは多いけど。
Studio Ghibli to be acquired by Nippon TV after struggle to find a successor to Miyazaki. Like this just happened.
This just literally happened
a month ago, September 21st.
I mean, they didn't even try with like Fuji Television.
Miyazaki,
I mean, they could have had the sweet Iron Chef stuff with it.
Miyazaki's beard always kind of looks fake to me.
See,
you know.
So
what
if
I mean?
you did it to Goro could pull it off easily.
It looks a little too,
and his eyebrows are dark.
I mean, that you can't control what goes gray when. I got
translucent in my case.
Yeah. But anyway, so it remains to be seen what that ultimately means. The point is that this is part of the reason Nippon TV was in a position to acquire Studio Ghibli.
They watched some Goro stuff and they're like,
Alex, can you tell me what Tales from Earthsea is about?
Oof.
Big oofs. Big oofs.
Oof. So Tales from Earthsea is it's not an original story. It's an adaptation of a series of fantasy books written by Ursula Le Guin, legumes. Which I don't know if you've ever read. I haven't read.
No.
I hear about it a little bit from time to time, but I feel like it's not as, compared to Lord of the Rings, it's kind of hard to do that, but they have a following of some sort. And what they did is that they basically adapted story elements or storyline from 3 of the books into kind of like a boiled down, streamlined version, which if you watch the movie itself, you're like, how did you pull elements from several books and make this when it's pretty straightforward by the book simplistic type of fantasy storyline, and it has to do with it takes place in, I guess, the world of, it doesn't really say this world, but I'm guessing it's the world of Earthsea. It's like a fantasy, like a kind of like a somewhat high middle fantasy world. There's dragons and there's magic, and it has that usual medieval European setting.
It's strikingly lacking in lore. Like they really don't go into any world building of what the rules of this world are.
Which a lot of Miyazaki films, they kind of do to a certain extent, or at least give you a setting as to.
Well, I mean, think of like Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke. Like I never was watching those movies thinking,
what's their tax policy like?
It's like, so what's the rules of Spirited Away world? I'm just kind of like watching it being like, oh, it's a bunch of spirits and they go to a bathhouse. Like it just kind of it was easier to accept. Basically, I'll put it this way: about an hour into this movie, I was like, "Were there dragons in this movie?" Like,
there was. It was when they were introduced, like as a prequel montage, like a prologue montage.
Yeah,
and then they're like gone,
and I'm like watching it, and I'm thinking of the poster for this movie, thinking, I thought there was going to be a relationship with a dragon in this movie.
And the box art I've seen at the library here in town, they do have several Miyazaki films. And I've seen Earthsea. I didn't pick it up because for some reason, I know it's done by Goro, but it was just kind of like something was off with it, So I ended up getting like The Cat Returns, which I don't know if that's.
I've never seen. It's not. It's somebody else, but it's a spiritual sequel / actual sequel to.
Another film of some
Mami wo Sumiseba, Whisper of the Heart. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the English name.
Okay.
Which is a nice film.
For some reason, like the box artwork it just strikes me as not Ghibli.
No.
I know it's produced by Ghibli. I know it just looks like it's Ralph Bakshi who did like the Lord of the Rings type of stuff.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Is that Ralph Bakshi? Is that his name?
Ralph Bakshi. I don't know. Bakshi Mo.
I know what you're talking about. I'm just curious what their Lord of. Because I'm thinking like Bukowski or something.
He did The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I never saw the Lord of the Rings one, but I do love his version.
Bakshi. Bakshi?
Bakshi. Oh, okay, Ralph Bakshi.
Bakshi. Okay. Yeah. I
do love
it's one
his
of those
Hobbit
names.
version.
It's one of those names that I always read it and never have said it out loud.
Lord of the Rings.
Maybe
he didn't do the Hobbit version.
Fritz the Cat, Lord of the Rings, Heavy Traffic. Coonskin. I remember this movie. It was controversial, but like for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he didn't do the Hobbit. Whoever did the animated Hobbit version, I love that because I had an actual like full Lord of the Rings book with the stills from the. It's someplace in my parents' basement. That's where it ends up all the time. But anyways, so Tales of Earthsea, it's very straightforward. It's evil wizard archmage guy is trying to take over his world. He's done stuff to the dragons. There's a young prince and like a good wizard mage guy who have to band together or defeat the bad guys.
Did you notice anything suspicious about the story that's relevant to the last time we talked about Miyazaki?
It's very. It feels like it's like a combination of like. It sort of feels like it's something set like Nausicaa and Princess Mononoke, like that type of universe. Is that what you're trying to get at?
No, buddy.
No?
Come on, we talked about this.
Oh, it's based upon like that comic. Yes.
It is directly using major plot points from this.
Okay. So he plagiarized his father in a sense.
Well, that's
from an artistic setting.
So it's funny. We talked about this very early in this season, and because you got it from the library for your son to read, and then you were like, hey, take a look at this, and so I read it too. And what stood out to me was when he sees the transport for the slaves, and I was sitting there being like, that's from Shuna's journey. Like that's a direct sequence from Shuna's journey.
And once again, right there on the cover, that creature he's riding, they have another creature that's ridden in this movie also.
Yeah, it's more horse-like. This is very much like the Mononoke.
Like a deer or something.
Yeah. The Mononoke
like
things.
Like
the other one, I think they call it a horse in Earthsea?
Or it's some sort of like riding animal,
right?
Some sort.
Yeah, here it is. This is the slave transport. It's like identical to the one that's in the film. So the reason I bring this up is that in the Miyazaki documentary, the Ghibli documentary, there's the famous reaction where he's like walks out of the movie halfway through, and is like, "My son is still a child." To the camera.
Is this the movie?
This is the movie.
This was okay.
It's this one because it was his first film. We'll talk. Well, Alex and I both watched From Up on Poppy Hill also, so we're going to talk about that next week. Because otherwise we'll spend an hour and a half talking about these two movies. But when you watch that isolated, if you've never seen Tales from Earthsea, it's very easy to be like, man, Miyazaki's a cunt. Like, why is he being so cruel to his kid? And I would argue it is still a cruel. Like, he doesn't need to be like that. He's. I saw a comment on that video from somebody being like, "This is a typical Asian parent reaction," but who was somebody who was born in the 50s and 60s. Yeah. Because it's not that Miyazaki doesn't love his son. It's more that Miyazaki doesn't know how to say anything nice to his son, like a lot of parents from that era do. But I was watching it thinking, oh, I could see being like, what the fuck, kid?
Yeah.
You're
watching it going like, I have seen this before, but I haven't seen a film or show like this before because I saw the comic that this is pretty much pulling up from.
Yeah, it's like, is he plagiarizing my own? Is he ripping my stuff off to show me?
They basically just use that the words and character names, I guess, from those books, but then they set it within Shuna's Journey universe.
Right. Exactly. I think that's what it is. Like with
And go ahead.
No, see, I think you're right that they took like the whole this evil wizard and this having to go on a journey to defeat them and the dragon, and then they just replicated the world from Shuna's Journey to put those events in.
Yeah, and the plot itself, like I said, it's very by the numbers. We got the wise sage elder, we have the young prince boy, we have the girl who gets kidnapped, the underling, and then like the big bad. It's like Star Wars.
It is strange, like how the prince goes on his journey. Like what starts it is a very strange beginning. I did not think, I don't know, do we have to warn for spoilers from a movie that's 10 years old?
Nobody's going to watch this because when they hear it's a Miyazaki movie and then they delve deeper, they're just like, oh.
They're like, what happened here?
No, we'll just keep going. Keep going.
Okay, I think it's strange that our lead starts his journey by murdering his father. And it's not that his father was a bad man.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for the father to show back up. And he doesn't. He's just dead.
He's just seriously killed. And it would be like Luke kills Vader, and then you're just like, what are we going to do for the next hour and a half of this film?
It's so strange because you start off with like the world is out of order and something's going on and we need to find out what it is. And it's like, okay, here's our like king and his advisors, and they're like talking about, oh, we don't know where the prince is, and he's like, oh, don't bother me with such things. And then he goes to his chamber and the sun pops up and just stabs him in the heart and kills him.
Do they ever get back to why?
Because he's like, he has the evil in him. The big twist of the movie is you think that he's being pursued by this like evil being that's like his dark shadow, that if it possesses him, he's going...
Shadow Link.
Yeah, Shadow Link. He's going to be like murder his friends and stuff, and that's why he killed his dad. And then it turns out, no, it's actually his good side that's pursuing him at the end. And they're like, it's his optimistic, hopeful side. Never explained why this even happened to begin with. It's very strange, very disjointed. All of the stuff at the end with the dragon girl, you can tell the budget went off a cliff because they never actually. So at the end of the movie, for some reason, the girl turns into a dragon. This is never explained, and it's
never really hinted to either.
It's never. There's no established that the humans turn into dragons. They say that dragons and humans used to be together. And I thought that meant like they cohabitated, not that they literally...
Like Dinotopia, not like literally they were like werewolves.
Right. So, and it was so poorly handled in the story that I was confused if the girl actually... If she was riding on the dragon with him.
Yeah, like they could like live symbiotically.
Yeah, like I thought she was like riding the dragon.
Oh, no. She is the dragon.
She is the dragon. But you never actually see her transform. It just cuts to him and then cuts back and she's human, or cuts to him and cuts back and she's a dragon. It's very awkward for a...
Maybe that's why he walked out of the theater.
Well, he didn't even make it that far.
He doesn't know what the fuck happens. He's like, hey, I was told there was dragons in the movie. There's no dragons.
It's like, it's violent in like a odd way for a Ghibli film. It's not like Princess Mononoke or Porco Rosso or anything like that. It's just kind of gratuitous and weird.
Yeah.
Tonally very odd.
The what struck me from an animation standpoint, character design, is that I understand that it's done by Studio Ghibli, and probably a lot of the animators that probably work on the other projects were working on this, so they have that Ghibli style, that you can easily tell. Like, whenever you see, like I said before about something, when you see a piece of artwork that's done by Toriyama, you can be like, oh yeah, that's Toriyama's handiwork. This was, in my opinion, when I saw the characters and they're moving around the way they look, I feel like it was the thing about like, hey mom, can we have Ghibli? And they're like, yeah, we have Ghibli at home. And this was Ghibli at home, where it's like something is off That's kind of something I had an issue with watching this film, where it's like somebody was trying to copy a Ghibli film, but then you find out it's Studio Ghibli copying its own work.
It had that vibe of like low budget, like like a low budget VHS that you would see. It would be anime, but in the kids section at Blockbuster. You know what I mean? It just doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's a Christian show.
Yeah, you're right. It looks like Superbook.
And since I'm wondering, maybe like since you bring up the whole budget thing, maybe since this was Goro's first rodeo solo, that's probably why they were like, "We'll give you a budget," but
it's actually shocking,
maybe that's why.
Shockingly high relative to the other films. So $22 million for Tales of Earthsea, and then you look at Princess Mononoke, $23 million.
Yeah, and look what you got in return for that.
Well, and the difference is, I mean, there is a time gap here, so that inflation-wise, this is probably less in 2013 dollars than Mononoke would have been, what, 1998, 1999, I think?
Yeah, late 90s.
So there is a little bit of difference there, although Ponyo was...
2008. Or is that the U.S. release?
2008.
2000. Okay. Oh, 2008.
So yeah, all right. So never mind.
Mononoke was 97.
But what I'm just going to get at is that I think that it demonstrates how much Hayao Miyazaki himself brings to the animation of his films. I don't know that Goro Miyazaki does the touch-ups the same way that his father does, or that he even can do something like that.
And probably keeps his workers' feet to the fire to the extent that his father does. Because when you watch that documentary and everybody's bringing him what they're working on so he can, it's. So it's an interesting demonstration of how a lesser filmmaker can stumble. I think that having said that, I think it's unfair to Goro that he even was put in this position, but also if he was working in a different studio, it would be a different set of expectations. There would still be the kind of the expectations of him that you are the son of Miyazaki, so you should blah blah blah, and he's like, I'm an architect. Like, this is completely out of my. It's like, did you call my brother? I mean, he does stuff too. I think it was also because he was, picked by Suzuki to go and do this. It was kind of like put on a pedestal and stuff. And then he also had the resources from Ghibli, so I think the end result was kind of expected to be a little bit better than what they got. But at the same time, I'll still say in his defense, it's like a guy who has no background in this apart from watching his father probably do work and watching his father's films, coming from an architectural background. Maybe he ran the show from that type of project management perspective and knowledge. And like I said, he did get like, what was that, like 75 million in box office revenue off of 22 or something like that. So it's respectable. And we know that the Japanese film industry, in terms of the box office returns, on average, they're kind of
low.
They're kind of low. I think it's kind of around the same type of box office returns at the end of the day that the U.S. film industry was back in the 80s, I would say, maybe early 90s.
Not enough people to make it bigger. Because so the budget of 22 million and it grossed 75.5 million. So well above its 2.5 triple budget to be a pretty profitable film for the studio and for all parties involved. But I'm sure they were hoping for,
at least
possibly.
Maybe high double digits, maybe just barely hitting that triple digit mark.
So it's just one of those movies that I wouldn't say that I hated it. It could be for how long it is, not enough is happening. It could have been a 90-minute film. There's a lot of back and forth stuff going on where I'm like, okay, all right, let's wrap this up. Come on. You know,
a lot of shots of people just standing there staring at each other.
And like even like the final conflict with the wizard, there's like there's a lot of like, this isn't even my final form stuff going on. It's like,
yeah, where all of a sudden it's just like, oh, you're Clayface from Batman.
Yeah, take out this entire second part.
What's interesting about that character is that the voice was done by female VA, and in the US it's done by Willem Dafoe, I think.
Oh, is it really? Well, they were trying to. It's part of that anime
ambiguousness
style of having the very effeminate, evil male who's like a Orochimaru type thing, you know?
Yes.
Where it's he's a little lispy, he's a little sassy.
Yeah. Also, Sparrowhawk, who was like the old, kind of like the, I guess, secondary protagonist, I guess you would say, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
He was voiced by Bunta Sugawara from Yakuza Papers.
Oh.
He was the main character.
I mean, did you watched it in Japanese, I assume?
Yes.
Did you listen to any of the dub? I didn't listen to any of the dub.
I didn't listen to the dub, but when I was kind of just taking a look on MAL about some of the stuff, they had a listing of the voice actors, and I was like, oh, interesting.
It was one of those things where I think this is when Disney was dubbing all of the work and was really pushing to have big name stars to help sell this stuff. I see it. Bunta Sugawara. I see him on the list.
On the list.
It's interesting because the writer is Goro Miyazaki, and then someone Keiko Niwa, who I don't know who that is or what they're.
Oh, actually, did you see right there, actually, on the Wikipedia page? Did you see that? Based on? Is that what you're looking at?
I was looking at
Keiko. Look at what it's based
Oh.
on. It's actually a combination of Earthsea and Shuna's Journey.
It lists it. So, but even still, I would argue that's kind of silly to do. They should have just gone for a straight Earthsea adaptation and sidestepped.
Or just done a straight Shuna's Journey and not even do Earthsea. All you're doing is trying to slap on some franchise from the West.
If I was Goro Miyazaki, I would have said there is no way in hell I'm adapting anything my father has worked on. I am not going to incorporate anything that my father has done because there is no way in hell I'm going to make him happy. He is going to be so critical.
And then here comes Suzuki into the room. He says, no, you are going to.
Producer Toshio Suzuki comes by. He's picked up on the tense atmosphere.
How many pots of gold would you give Tales from Earthsea?
It's probably the lowest I will ever give a Ghibli film. I'm going to give it a 1.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Painful.
It was, I mean, granted, it is Goro's first film, and it's still, it's still good that the guy was able to get at least one film under his belt, but because of several technical issues, writing issues, pacing issues, like a lot of stuff, and also considering the facilities that he had access to, being Ghibli itself, I think it's just unfortunately the problem with this film. But I'm guessing probably his other films would probably be better than this. I think it's just they were apart from the dragons, I don't really know what else they could have gotten out of the whole Earthsea thing. Maybe some of the characters, but everything else just seemed like it was, directly pulled out of Suna's Journey. So I kind of was watching it, and I got to a point where I'm like, let's open up another tab and see what's going on 4chan right now. While I still have it here playing, and it's kind of weird because we do enjoy Ghibli films. It's just that, with Miyazaki, coming to the end of his stuff, and now we hear about, the studio and all of its products going into, archival type of setting. The movies that aren't directly done by him but are done by Ghibli will be an interesting kind of self-contained group within their overall collection of films. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts.
It's funny because I'm reading about the critical reception in Japan, which seems to have been pretty mixed. American critics did not like it at all. 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, and
which is kind of weird for a Ghibli film.
Yeah.
Although they don't really refer to it as Ghibli, they call it always Miyazaki.
Sure, they don't. Yeah. Well, most people think that if Totoro's on the blue background, it means it's a Miyazaki film. It was the lowest rated film produced by Studio Ghibli on Rotten Tomatoes up until Earwig and the Witch in 2020, which was also directed by Goro. On Metacritic, it has a weighted average score of 47 out of 100 based on 11 critic reviews, indicating mixed or average. I'm firmly in the average camp. I think that I would give it 2 out of 4 pots of gold. I think that the reason that it's so egregious is simply because of the pedigree that it comes from. When you look at even on the lesser end of Ghibli films, it stands out. And so maybe I'm being a little soft on it because I have a little bit of, I feel bad for Goro Miyazaki.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially, if you do see that documentary and you see, the glimpses of the relationship that he has with his father.
Right. So I was really pulling for this not to be a terrible movie. I don't know that I would call it terrible. But it is certainly not up to the standards of any of the directors who have gone through Ghibli before, whether it's Isao Takahata, Hayao Miyazaki, or there was another one who did a few films.
It's like the third tenor. You don't know who the third tenor is.
Exactly. So it was a questionable film with questionable decisions and kind of lackluster animation. There were a few good scenes, but overall kind of underwhelming. And it is interesting to see that there, even from another Miyazaki, there is a je ne sais quoi of Hayao Miyazaki actually directing the film himself, So yeah, 2 pots of gold. Alex and I are going to talk about From Up on Poppy Hill next week, which is his second film, second of 3. I don't think you and I will ever bother with Earwig and the Witch.
I don't think anybody will.
I actually tried to watch that
because that's the first CGI one.
It's the first all CG Ghibli film, and it is an abomination.
What's funny is that Japanese cannot into CGI films, and that's perfectly fine. They can do digital animation. Don't go beyond that.
Yeah.
Don't.
No. Stick to video games, guys.
Yeah.
So will From Up on Poppy Hill be any better than this?
Has Goro learned his lessons from the previous time?
Did Goro learn anything? Will
Nintendo ever be sold to a Western developer? Tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's interesting to see the reaction from Hayao Miyazaki to Poppy Hill versus this film. I'll just we'll talk about that next time. Until next time, Alex, would you please do me a favor and wrap up this week's episode of Culture Doom?
Thank you very much for tuning in, listening to our review and opinions about Tales from Earthsea from Studio Ghibli, directed by Goro Miyazaki. On behalf of Brendan, this is Alex saying Dopabachiya until next time.